I'd like to call the City of Menasha Board of Public Works meeting to order. Clerk Galeazzi, could you please take roll call?
Alderman Nichols.
Here.
Alderman Kraut-Kramer.
Here.
Alderman Oshesky.
Here.
Alderman Keehan. Here. Alderman Zielinski. Here. Alderman Benner. Here. Aldermans Spencer and Taylor have been excused.
Our first order of business tonight is to approve the minutes from March 7th, 2016. Alderman Keehan.
Thank you. I will move to approve the minutes from Board of Public Works meeting of March 7, 2016.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We have 3 action items this evening. Our first action item is a change order for Vinton Construction Company regarding downtown street walkway and electrical improvements. Director Radke, could you give us some information on that, please?
Sure. In the packet is a memo which explains the various components of the change order, and I'd like to go through those pretty much in order that they are in the memo. This, of course, is the project that the council awarded at its last council meeting, and since that time, I think I made some notice of the fact that we may have another change order coming forward, and this is that change order that we were working on at that time, but we did not have all of the details then. In talking with Vinton Construction Company, the contractor for this project, they had indicated to us that the pavement marking material, which is known as MMA, which consists of 3 very long chemical names that I cannot pronounce, is a very expensive coating, and they had offered to substitute, instead of that coating, a full-depth integral colored concrete in its place. And so we did entertain that. They indicated they could do that at a cheaper cost than just covering the existing pavement, whether it's concrete or asphalt, with this MMA material. So we did do some research, and we found that the MMA, in addition to having a high initial cost, has a higher maintenance cost because of the requirement to utilize special equipment to apply this, even if you're making a repair to the surface. It is pretty resistant to plow and other equipment wear, but occasionally it can be damaged that way. And in looking at the duration of the material, we found that there was evidence that would suggest maybe it didn't have the 7 to 8 year life that was promoted for this material. There were some applications where it just didn't seem to last that long. It did have at least a 4 to 6 year life, and perhaps some occasions it could go beyond that. So we did ask for pricing from the contractor to make that switch. And if you look at items 3, item 3 is the amount that involves deleting that material or that item from the contract. And then that actually goes with item 5, which is the cost to add the colored concrete crosswalk in its place. So there you can see there's a net deduct for those 2 items. And then when we were reviewing the project in whole, we noticed that the condition of the asphalt pavement on Mill Street, south of Main Street, was in marginal to poor condition, and yet this contract had called for covering that crosswalk, that mid-block crosswalk, with this MMA material, and now we're replacing it with the colored concrete. So to us it didn't make sense to have a section of new concrete at the intersection of Main and Mill that will be new concrete, and then have a relatively short section of marginal to poor asphalt pavement, and then again new concrete through the crosswalk, and again poor asphalt to the south of that crosswalk. This is indicated in the first display drawing in the memo. So we did ask the contractor for pricing on that, and that is what you see with items 1 and 4. Item 1 is deleting the bituminous asphalt pavement. Item 4 is adding 8-inch concrete sidewalk is how it's termed in the contract. It's actually street pavement. And then in addition to that, we looked at the, if you look at the third drawing, the colored crosswalk of the Broad Street alley initially called for it's a tabletop crossing, which is, in effect, you'll have a ramp on either side of the crossing. It's meant to slow down the traffic in the alleyway and provide some prominence to the crosswalk itself. So it alerts the traffic to that crosswalk. It requires them to slow down to comfortably negotiate that section. And again, we were substituting that MMA product for a colored crosswalk in that area as well. It's a little different depth of concrete, so when you look at items 2, 6, and 7, those are the associated costs for that particular part of the contract that we would like to change. So when you add all these up, you will see that it does come out to a deduct of $3,645.58. And we feel we're, in addition to having a deduct, we're getting a much better product for this project. So to us, it's while it took a lot of work in putting together these numbers, I think it's a very good proposal for the city, and we're recommending approval of this change order.
Thank you, Director Radke. Is there a motion to approve this change order? Alderman Benner.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. At this time, I make a motion to approve change order to Vinton, or to forward to council the change order for Vinton Construction Company, the contract unit 2016-01 for downtown street walkway and electrical improvements, Mill Street, Main Street, pedestrian length from Broad Street parking ramp to Main Street for a deduct of $3,645.58. This is references change order number 2.
A motion and a second. Any discussion? Alderman Zelinski.
Thank you. Mark, for the alleyway, how are the plows going to be receptive to this raised area?
I mean, they'll have to slow down as well, but it will not be a problem. It's a gentle ramp on the approach side and on the exit side to the tabletop.
Are we going to be leaving snow or ice behind as it goes up and down?
They shouldn't. I mean, they're going to have to straighten out their blade, but you know, they should be able to negotiate that. They're fairly common in the northern climate. And
My concern is the plow's coming at it before it hits the slides. It's going to be hitting the ramp. Is it going to be? Where's the slides for the plow that guides it off the concrete? So the plow is going to hit that ramp before it hits the slides, and is it going to be? Or is this a gradual?
well, our plows do have, you know, they're spring loaded.
Okay.
So when they do meet obstructions like that, it's a good question. You know, they will either trip or they'll push up. We have 2 different types of plows.
Yeah, but
and they have various sections on
Yeah,
them.
but every given snowfall, there might be a different plow at this site.
Yeah, but they all have that mechanism on their
Okay.
plows.
So you feel confident that it's not going to be eroding away the edges from the snowplow hitting that?
I do. Yes.
Okay. Well, I support the savings.
I mean, without those either the trip plow or the sectional plow, that would be a problem. That could definitely be a problem.
Okay, and
but-
then, and Mill Street, we determined that the pavement's not up to par now?
Well,
What- this
because,
is
I
nothing
mean,
new.
initially, we were trying to keep costs down on the project. And, you know, the concrete contractor came to us and said, you know, we can replace this crossing, that mid-block crosswalk, cheaper by putting in new concrete, colored concrete, than applying this epoxy pavement marking material. So when we did that, we said, well, now there's only this short gap in between that's of asphalt pavement that, like I said, is marginal to in some sections poor. And it didn't make sense for us to keep that in there. knowing that sometime in the not-too-distant future, we'll probably be in there disturbing that area again. So contractor came to us with a good price, and to us, it's good value. And then in the future, if we want to extend this as that pavement, the southern segment of Mill Street will still have that asphalt. But that's something that we are very competitive price-wise with doing with our own public works crews. So we could take that on as we need to in the future. Plus, if there is an upcoming initiative for completing that south end of Mill Street, as we talked about previously as part of this whole downtown project, then maybe that south end could be incorporated into that project cost as well.
Okay. The crosswalk on Main Street, that's not a raised portion, is it?
No.
That's,
The only raised one is in the Broad Street alley.
yeah, I support this. All I wanted was a safe and usable crosswalk. Now it's finally coming through, but there's other aspects to this thing that I didn't agree about.
I understand.
And how is this crosswalk? Is the developer still planning on putting that other extension to the crosswalk through their property?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Any further discussion? Alderman Nichols,
Hi,
there you are.
on an island tonight. Director Radke, much of the discussion about the MMA material at that committee level, where we were all talking about the project, centered around the safety of pedestrians using the crosswalks every day. So with the substitution of colored concrete, does that sacrifice safety in any way, shape, or form?
I don't think so. We're going to match the color of the proposed color of the MMA with the concrete as best we can. And then, of course, we'd have edge striping as we would on all of our crosswalks, thick edge striping to alert traffic of the crossing. So I think it's going to be in pretty stark contrast to the pavement that's out there, and that, to me, suggests a safe crossing from that aspect anyhow.
Okay, thank you.
Any further discussion? Please take a roll call vote.
Motion carried on roll call 6-0.
Our second item is an authorization to execute Wisconsin Department of Transportation Bridge Operation Agreement for fiscal year 2017. Director Radke, any information on that?
This is the annual agreement for operating our two lift bridges, and there actually are no changes in this year's proposed agreement or this coming year's agreement from the agreement under which we're operating currently. The city attorney did review the agreement, had a couple questions that were answered to her satisfaction, and so we're recommending approval. This would go to the council.
Thank you very much. Entertain a motion to approve. Alderman Nichols?
Thank you. I'll move that we forward to the council the authorization to execute the Wisconsin DOT Bridge Operation Agreement for fiscal year 2017.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, let's take a roll call vote, please.
Motion carried on roll call 6-0.
Our third action item, I believe, is to forward to council, correct? Yes. Wisconsin Department of Transportation, 441 and Racine Street interchange, landscaping and aesthetic ballots. Director Radke, could you inform us of that, please?
Okay, the council had previously indicated its preference for the aesthetics and landscaping in the roundabouts at this proposed interchange. This is the interchange with Highway 10, 441 and Racine Road north of 9th Street. And now DOT is looking for the city's input, and actually in the form of a ballot, for several different options of landscape treatment, on the islands that are referred to as splitter islands that you encounter approaching the actual roundabout. In addition, there will be remnant right-of-way that they call the pocket park. They're looking for our input and direction as to which level of treatment we want for that park. And then, in addition to that, they are asking what one of the features in that pocket park involves an entrance wall that is part of the cost that the state is willing to undertake. And they want our input as to, again, what level of quality we would want for that particular feature wall. So we'll take these one at a time. First is the planting in the splitter islands. It's our recommendation that we continue with what was preferred by the council in the past for the roundabout, which was the highest level of landscaping inside the roundabout. We do, however, staff feels that, so we're opting to recommend the planting in the splitter islands, but we do feel that DOT should work with us in selecting the planting material to ensure that the planting material selected is of a lower maintenance need and still within the allowable vision parameters for the DOT. So that's regarding the first option, or the first item. Secondly is the pocket park. This remnant right-of-way would be actually owned by Winnebago County. It's some of the right-of-way that exists there now, and because we're relocating the roundabout a little bit to the south and west of where the main intersection is now, there's going to be some leftover highway right-of-way. Winnebago County, and I should say also, immediately to the east of this is abutting Menasha Joint School District property, Calder Stadium, parking lot, and so forth. So in previous meetings with those agencies, it was felt that we would best involve Menasha School District in these discussions. And Winnebago County has also had discussions with Menasha School District and has indicated that in the future it is likely to transfer that property over to the Menasha School District because the county has no need for it at that point. And so in discussing this with Menasha Schools, we asked what their preference was. They had a meeting with their administrative staff and maintenance staff, and they opted for option 2, which is the pocket park without the picnic area and sidewalk connection. And we, again, would make that recommendation to the board at this time because they will be the responsible entity for maintenance of this area. Option 3 involves the feature wall. And this is where we have had a local benefactor who has offered to upgrade the wall at their cost, and their preference is for the natural stone veneer as a higher quality wall and material. So as long as they're willing to make that contribution, we would agree with that, and our recommendation would be to go with the natural stone veneer. And the last item up for discussion is the flag display. To us, it looked like a very nice display at a very prominent location coming off of the ramp, so we thought, why not? You know, it's appropriate and could be quite a nice view coming off of the ramp. So our recommendation is to, yes, go with the flag display.
Thank you, Director Radke. Quick question, was there any discussion, I know a ways back we were talking about the pillars for the old hotel, I believe, or the old bank. Was there any discussion on maybe using
Pillar committee.
those here?
I wasn't involved with anything in that area, and I don't know if anyone here was on that committee. Oh, Alderman Benner was.
Just remind me.
Sorry.
I could certainly ask that later, too. That's not a
So I don't know if
Just
this ever
throwing it
came
out
up in
there.
their discussions.
so possibility. Are there any discussions?
Yeah.
Alderman Zelinski.
Thank you. Mark, you mentioned, there's something in here mentioned about maintenance. What are we liable for as far as maintenance on long-term maintenance on this whole roundabout?
We are liable for the planting in the roundabout. We're liable for the crosswalks in the roundabout. We'd be liable for the planting bed in the splitter islands. And we'd be responsible for any sidewalk that would be adjacent to city-owned property. And I don't know how that works out in this one. Greg, do you know?
Do you want to mention anything about the school district?
Yeah, I mean, and the school district is going to be responsible for
Yes,
sidewalk,
right. So-
on there, and we had talked with the school district about possibly exchanging areas of responsibility for various sidewalks. If it made more sense for us to be in an area where we already are, then we would take care of that, and then they in turn would take care of perhaps a section that is isolated for our crews, but would be more easily responded to with their crews.
As far as I remember, there's no sidewalks there now, are there?
There are no
How do
sidewalks
we
on
connect-
Racine
how-
Street,
How far is the state going to connect these sidewalks up to?
up to 12th
9th
Street,
Up
12th to 9th.
12th to 9?
Mhm.
Okay, and then we're going to be liable for those, part of that's in the town and city and,
We are responsible for this roundabout, even though there may be parts that are in the town. That was by previous decisions and action by the council. Then they were responsible for the other roundabout as part of this interchange. But I don't know that we have fully determined. I'm thinking that each jurisdiction is going to be responsible for their own sidewalk.
so is there got to be some kind of agreement in that they know that they're,
Yeah, well, I should have
Responsible?
mentioned that there will be a state municipal agreement coming forward fairly soon, I'm guessing, to cover both with the town of Menasha and DOT and the city of Menasha with DOT. I think there'll be separate agreements, however, establishing responsibilities and cost
Okay.
obligations.
the pavement in the roundabout, is that concrete or asphalt, and who's responsible?
Pavement in the roundabout is concrete, and then there's a colored concrete truck
And
apron.
they're responsible for that? And
They are responsible for the roundabout
It's
pavement.
usually as the road goes and the curb goes, the rest of it's gonna be rehabbed at some point?
Pretty much. The rest of it would be local responsibility,
Okay,
including lighting that's outside of the roundabout. Lighting in the roundabout would be DOT responsibility.
and you're comfortable with the maintenance that has to be done on the veneer, the natural stone?
Yes. I mean, there may be
You sound so
some,
decided.
well, I think it's just a much better
It
product.
looks much better,
Yes,
I agree.
but there will be some future maintenance. There
I'm
shouldn't
sure
be
they
a
might
lot
be
of.
blending this in with Calder Stadium some way, and
I
don't know what the,
Yeah, I don't know. I know that the architect has, has these drawings, and beyond that, I'm not sure what. Mayor, I don't know if you know anything more than that.
so before I turn it over to him, is there any discussion what's going in this roundabout other than plantings, or is that still wide open? In the center?
No, I think that's it.
Okay,
Mm-hmm.
thank you.
DOT won't allow anything in the center other than the plantings, from my understanding.
Pretty much.
That's not a system interchange, that was the difference, so I forgot what the question,
Just on
the wall. So we are working with an architect, and he is aware of the signage that Calder Stadium would like to also have, and he's working to look to see if he can blend the two together, or how to place each one so that we don't have, a conglomeration of a whole bunch of signs all together, and it ends up looking like the stacks of billboards going down to Oshkosh. So he is aware of that.
Any further discussion? Is there a motion to forward to council? Alderman Nichols?
Thank you. I'll move that we recommend to council option 1, which continues with the softening of the hardscape by including the planting beds, but be able to select the type of planting that best suits our needs and is within the allowable parameters established by Wisconsin DOT. And regarding the pocket park, option number 2, since the Menasha Joint School District would likely be responsible for this area. And selecting the natural stone veneer option for the entrance feature wall. And lastly, including the flag display in the entrance feature wall.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? Alderman Nichols?
Director Radke, this is regarding the veneer wall and the flag display. Are there plans for this feature to be lit at nighttime?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Any further discussion? Alderman Zelinski?
Just one more question. Mark, how long would this veneer stone be guaranteed for? Because I've seen some of this stuff hold up very well and others of it start popping shortly.
Well, it's going to be a DOT project, and they do not have any warranties. Once it's accepted, they accept it.
That kind of
So it's a little different from our contracts. Our contracts are pretty standard 1-year warranty. But theirs, they make sure that everything is done right, and they do a final walkthrough and look for any defects before they do accept it. And they involve the local agency or municipality in that walkthrough if we so choose. So,
How
but-
far is all this veneer stone from the salting area? Shouldn't be getting salt on it. Said it's susceptible to salt, but
Yeah, no, it's a fair distance from this,
Sensitive.
so it should be, I think it's adequate distance from the salting spread.
Any further discussion? We have a motion, waiting on a second, I believe. Oh, you seconded? All right. Take a roll call vote, please.
Motion carried on roll call 6-0.
There are no other action items, so I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. We are adjourned.